Hello, every pony. This is Flash Notion, the ponified talking head, and I am whisper shouting because I am recording this very late at night. And I don't want to wake anybody up, but I'm not going to have any normal time to record this week. I'm just going to have to amplify this very loud in the actual video so that way you can all hear what I'm saying. Alright, so, this is a reaction video to, of course, episode 21 of season 7 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and it's going to be awesome because this one is entitled Marks and Recreation. This is, of course, the second Parks and Recreation's episode title pun that we've had, the first being last season's Saddle Row and Wreck. This time, though, it's a much more obvious, what it's about. This is a Cutie Mark Crusaders episode, and this is their Cutie Mark camp that they said they were setting up back in FiM and Misfortune. And, this should be interesting. I do already know a little bit about this episode. According to one line that I read somewhere, fan fiction, of course, some pony doesn't want a cutie mark for some reason. I mean, I don't really know why you wouldn't. If I could have a butt stamp that would tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do with my life, that would be amazing. But, I do believe that the specific pony who doesn't want a cutie mark is none other than Rumble, I believe is his name, who I think is at first I thought that was the sort of fattish gray pony that we saw a few times in the classroom, but I think now that from the thumbnails that I've seen, Rumble's actually a skinnier gray colt who is Thunder Lane's little brother, I think? I don't know. But apparently there's supposed to be a song in this one, so yeah, that should be pretty cool. And the first frame that we open up on is a pony who looks kind of like G3 Scootaloo. They're bringing in more G3 references, aren't they? I don't know. But she's holding a paintbrush, so this should be interesting. Let's just get into it. All right. So we'll get started here in 3, 2, 1, play. Make sure my volume's at the correct level. Doing a still life.
See how your still life's coming along, kettle corn? Well, that
did she say kettle corn?
Round? I can make it rounder. I'm afraid that's all the time we have today. We'll try something else tomorrow. But I like circle painting. And on the way to figuring out what you're meant to do, you'll find a ton more stuff you like. That's what makes looking for your cutie marks.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you like something doesn't mean it is your cutie mark. But you know that whatever...
Sorry, every pony. We're closing up shop. We'll have to help y'all tomorrow.
Poor Pipsqueak. Moo. He's a cow.
Working with blanks one at a time takes forever.
In any case, but yeah, like I was saying,
We'd save time and
they kissed.
each other.
Pretty much, they pretty much kissed.
Oh, but it'd have
They
to be
did.
somewhere big enough to handle all those blanks. Somewhere outside with tons of activities to try.
Sweet Apple Acres.
I'm thinking, Cutie Mark Day Camp! And I know just the place. Applejack
Anyways,
when she
one
was little.
more try.
Friendship!
Or maybe I'll just wait until the title.
Thought we were all gonna yell that one too.
Aww. Scootaloo's blushing. She hardly ever blushes. And I like that the blush was nicely faded too. Anyways, what I was trying to say was that they know that although they might not get their key mark in the first thing that they find they like, they know that they should know that whatever it is that they end up getting their cutie mark in is something that they love to do. Like, for the CMCs, it's helping other ponies. Which, yeah, I mean, who doesn't like to help other people? Okay, a lot of people sometimes don't like to help other people.
Attention all blank flanks and blank flank affiliates.
So who wrote this one? Come on, show me the name.
And find out what you're meant to do together.
By Mei Chen. I don't know that one.
Oh, hey, Crusaders. Look, I can't stop. Gotta meet my brother for something.
No problem. Just wanted to make sure you heard about our cutie mark day camp.
So,
First session's tomorrow.
huh.
What you got there, little brother?
What the heck? I don't think that was his voice that he had before.
Come what? Come on.
Also,
Cutie mark day camp is
with the fact that they don't actually write stuff out in the show, that kind of looks like an equal mark sign, so it kind of looks like something Starlight Glimmer would have passed out.
Well, we're excited too. At Cutie Mark Day Camp, you'll be able to try all kinds of things. Kayaking, horseshoe tossing, circle painting. You can try them all.
It's not just supposed to be a circle, it's supposed to be fruit.
Will work for us.
Then I bet it'll work for these little guys too.
I thought you said we were gonna go practice for the Wonderbolt's Ponyville Extravaganza show.
I'm going to Wonderbolt practice. You're going to Cutie Mark practice.
Glad to have you.
I can't believe your own brother is a Wonderbolt.
Yeah, I used to think Rumble was a pony who had a body type like that greenish colored one over there.
Do you know Spitfire?
I know she'll be mad if I'm late. Now you have a good time and try some stuff. Who knows
So
what you'll
when
be
did he actually join up? I don't remember that. Also, dang, that's impressive.
Looks like we found the first activity of the day, the horseshoe toss.
Yeah, I don't.
You can stay and play, but it's
The
time to fly.
conflict scheme's kind of obvious here. Rumble's obviously very grumpy, but is it just because he's afraid of getting upshown by his older brother?
Come up and show us how it's done. No
Or
way
is-
he's as good as his brother.
Oh,
What?
exactly.
Oh, I guess I won't be getting my cutie mark in the horseshoe toss.
Don't worry.
Who wants to bet that's exactly what it is gonna be?
I'm worried.
Good, because there's a ton of other stuff to try. We'll find you something you're good at.
Huh. I mean, the CMCs are no strangers to being in their sister's shadows, so if anybody can end up understand. Flip. Nice. Ooh, nice. Back in what was it? Equestria Games. They only ever they use their mouse to do it. Of course, that might have been for speed.
Whoops.
That pose.
The first and last lines have 5 syllables, but the middle has 7. It's called a haiku.
Huh.
Whoops. I've tried it all. Time to tell my brother this camp isn't for me.
Come on, Rumble. Isn't it fun just
Yeah, what's
Not really.
because he didn't actually try. He's a bit of a stick in the mud. Ooh.
haiku cutie mark? And I never would have tried without skedaddle. That's what cutie mark did.
Skedaddle, huh?
Working together.
I like it.
Helping each other.
Nice name. No, skedaddle.
I can still come back, right? And maybe
Sure.
paint some circles? Of course. Let's all meet right back here tomorrow. Hooray!
As a CMC discovered last
Can't
season,
believe we
just because you got your marks doesn't mean you can stop trying new things. Doesn't mean you can not enjoy other things.
Every pony except Rumble. He didn't have much luck with anything. Trying to find out what you're meant to do can be frustrating. You remember how long it took us?
He wasn't trying though. And that's the weird part.
Well, we can't.
Yeah, the literal nightmares.
Try harder.
Ooh. Are we gonna see Dash? Please see Dash. Where's Dash?
Hey, Rumble.
What are you all doing here?
We just wanted to apologize for not finding anything you liked today.
Oh, whatever. It's fine.
It's not
He's
fun.
kind of going through an emo phase.
And we know what it's like.
Sort of. Like, I don't care.
It's
I don't care about anything.
We've all been there, but we
Life is
won't give up
pointless.
on we know you'll get your cutie mark. Every pony does.
Actually, I don't need your help because I don't want to get my cutie mark.
What?
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's their entire thing, so, like,
Hay in my ears. Because I thought I just heard Rumble say,
You heard right. I don't want my cutie mark.
I just,
"Said it again!"
you know,
Not wanting a cutie mark is like not wanting to breathe. Every pony wants to know what they're meant to do.
Not this pony.
Why?
Because cutie marks are silly, and they just force you into one thing your whole life.
That's silly.
obviously not.
Doesn't mean you can't do other things. Yeah, our cutie marks aren't helping ponies with their cutie marks, but I still like making potions with Zakora.
And
When was
dancing.
the last time you did that?
I think it was, well, we've been pretty busy helping other ponies lately.
Oh, you mean doing the thing you got your cutie mark for? The thing you're stuck doing for the rest of your life?
Okay, we'll be doing that more
Aww.
than anything else. But we
And just,
will do
aww.
Well, that's fine for you.
Pretty
I'm
sad.
gonna be put in a box.
a blank
Huh.
pony who doesn't want a cutie mark? That's gotta be the strangest thing I've ever heard. Granny always says some ponies have to find their own hay. Are you sure she didn't mean find their own way? Oh, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Can't believe Rumble isn't interested
But it's
in
Granny, so
cutie
who
marks
knows?
either, but we can't force him, and we've got a whole camp full of ponies who are interested in cutie marks.
Exactly. Well, that's a good attitude to have. So, but if he doesn't want his cutie mark,
The fastest.
I got a feeling it actually doesn't have anything to do with his cutie mark, and it's actually to do with his brother.
Oh, sorry, little brother. You're right. You might be the most elite flyer in Equestria someday, but for now, you should try other things too. Speaking of which, aren't you supposed to be at camp?
That cap is for losers who can't do anything.
Great, so there's no pressure. You can try everything and not be worried about looking bad.
I'm not worried about that. I just don't want to get a cutie mark in any of their ridiculous activities.
Well, you're still going back tomorrow. You can't be at blank flank forever.
Sombra was. I mean, I know in the comics, technically Sombra wasn't a
Alright, cutie mark camp. That's it for
pony,
Jesse.
but still,
This is fun.
that's not in
I didn't
this.
get a cutie mark
Like,
yet.
we've never explored Sombra in this.
Anything else?
You don't get
Also,
a cutie mark just
is it
because
just
you
me,
did
or was
something, or
Pip
even
Squeak's
because you
voice
like it.
very
There's more
different?
to it than that. I'm real good at painting circles, but I got my cutie mark in haikus.
Which is what I like. But I'm still a blank flank like you.
So,
They're-
you can't get a kitty mark in something you like?
Now, we didn't say that.
You don't have to.
Rumble, you came back.
To
Try
deconstruct.
to painting circles, you'll be too busy haikuing from now on.
But I like circles. Come on, Rumble. That's not how cutie marks work.
So, that's how kitty marks work?
Am I speaking old ponish? I just said it wasn't.
No, you're just experiencing the
They say,
phenomenon that
yeah, right.
Twilight and her friends are all too familiar with. The stupid background pony syndrome.
That special mark that's just for you. We'll erase the stuff you like to do.
So, no more painting? No more haiku? Rumble, stop. That's just not true.
So you can charming snakes. Too bad. Or you bake delicious cakes. Oh well. Maybe there are lots of things that you like to do. Well, your options are pretty stark. Once you got that cutie
That is very mean
blank
all
flanks
around.
are better, no pony to tell you
Seriously,
what
what's
to
he...
be. Blank flanks are better, keep your spirit soaring free.
I mean,
Listen up, 'cause I ain't lying. Don't need no marks, so
this is kind of like...
trying. If you like just
This is
being you,
so weird because it's
that blank, blank, blank is a thing.
it's not necessarily wrong from what we've seen.
Don't limit you. They only show you what you can do.
Blank, blank. But what if you can't do a thing? Blank, blank. These kitty marks are frustrating.
You say there's
Well,
nothing
yeah.
you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
A blank flank is the way for you. It's no work to just be who you are. No hunt to be some cutie star. You're perfect just being you. Don't
Huh.
bother with what you cannot do. Blank flanks are better. No pony to tell you who you have to be. Blank flanks are better. Keep your spirit soaring free. So listen up, 'cause I
mean,
ain't lying. You ain't no marks,
huh.
I keep trying. If you like
I got some... There's something I want to talk about, but I don't want to... It's going to be something I bring up afterwards.
That's it, blank flanks. Be proud of who you are.
I'm now expecting him to get a cutie mark like right now at the end of the song and just be absolutely horrified. That would be perfect.
Blank flanks.
Whoopee!
Now wait just an apple-picking minute, Rumble. Where do you think you're leading our campers?
They're not your campers anymore. I'm starting a new camp. Every pony on this side of the line is in Camp Blank Flanks forever.
So where are they actually? I might have missed that.
That's just the kind of talk I'd expect to hear from Camp Cutie Mark, which is why Blank Flanks need a camp where we can enjoy being Blank Flanks and appreciate our blank flankiness without feeling pressured to get a cutie mark.
Now hold on, every pony.
Blank Flanks forever!
Blank Flanks forever! Blank Flanks forever! Blank Flanks forever!
I guess it... Huh.
What just happened?
Yeah, exactly.
In a word, yes.
Oh, they're so adorable. Plenty to talk about.
I just can't see what we did wrong. I thought everybody was having fun.
They
until
were.
that Rumble came and made a mess of things. What are they doing now? Looks like whatever they want.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Honestly, it's not all that different from what they were doing here. Then, what was the point? Point is that Rumble is a mad pony who must be stopped.
This isn't a comic book, Scootaloo.
We just need to talk to him again.
No, the
key
point is, I think that...
Cutie marks! Special!
By putting you in a special little
Oh my god.
Special!
box!
Can't,
Come on,
I
sweetie.
can't. I can't.
I think you remain calm long
That
enough.
broke me. That broke me. Just a little bit.
Kettle corn, you covered your cutie mark?
Yeah, she did, like, way back during the song.
Keeping my options open. I'm more than haikus. You just haikued right then.
Don't let them get in your head. You're an open-ended question. Blank Flanks forever!
Blank Flanks forever!
Flanks forever!
She's like, I can't punch him, so I'm just gonna throw this down.
Wow, you're cracking great.
Thanks.
What?
Oh no. What if I get a cutie mark in it?
Then you'll
Uh-oh.
be stuck doing it forever. Blank Flanks, no more potential cutie mark activities.
So... Oh, dear. This is... She's like, I already got mine, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
No, it isn't.
But
It's
no,
a
that's
good idea.
that's kind of like what Starlight went through.
That
Like,
Rumble.
oh dear.
Maybe we can't, but I bet I only who can.
Yeah. Seriously, did we not see Rainbow Dash in this?
Get this straight. My little brother upended your entire camp? How in Equestria did he do that?
Well,
By singing a song about how he didn't want a cutie mark.
horseshoe or paddle a kayak or shoot an arrow or use a pencil. We felt bad that he wasn't good at anything, but now he doesn't want a cutie mark at all because he's afraid he got stuck doing something he doesn't like forever, you know?
No.
Oh dear, the derp eyes.
Well, that doesn't make a lick of sense. Unless he was being bad at stuff on purpose.
Yeah,
I'm
how did
afraid
you
of this.
Afraid
not
of what?
notice it?
Ever since I became a Wonderbolt, Rumble's either watching me or trying to fly like me. He won't do anything else. That's why I thought your camp was such a good idea.
I
Huh.
don't understand. If
Huh?
Rumble wants to be a Wonderbolt someday, what's wrong with that?
Not a thing. But right now, he isn't even giving anything else a chance.
Sounds to me like Rumble isn't afraid of being put in a box at all. It doesn't? Nope.
He's afraid of being put in the wrong box.
He's afraid he'll get a cutie mark that'll keep him from it.
Well, now, here's an interesting thought. They're all bored out of their
I
minds.
don't know how to say this, Rumble, but Blank Flank Forever Camp is kinda
Boring?
If we want to stay blank flanks, we can't risk doing stuff.
Well, if you got a cutie mark in napping.
Attention, blank flanks up, cutie mark take.
The faces on these fools.
The Cutie Mark Crusaders are pleased to announce today's special guest, Thunderlane.
Hey, everybody! It's me!
Anyways, what I was wondering about was, do all the Wonderbolts have cutie marks that actually designate them as being
Any pony who's interested, gather
flyers
around for
like that? I mean,
activities with the Jim
obviously,
Brown Wonderbolt.
like, Rainbow Dashes, it wasn't quite obvious. Like, the lightning bolt somewhat, but the rainbow colors were always about her ability to do a sonic rain boom, and the cloud could be part of her whole weather control thing. But yeah, that's not fair at all. Anyways. That's adorable. But yeah, I mean, hey, let's build Twilight's castle out of popsicle sticks.
All right, campers, it's time for our last activity of the day. A Wonderbolt obstacle course. Just like the one they'll fly through in their upcoming show, but on the ground, since not every pony has wings.
Huh.
Thunderlane, aren't you gonna run the course?
Nope. I know I'm a Wonderbolt and my cutie mark is all about moving fast, but I really like to cook.
Since when?
Well, we take turns making the meals at Wonderbolt HQ. I didn't want to at first, but now I love it. I just wish I tried it sooner.
You do?
Of course.
Huh.
There's more to me than just flying, and I bet there's more to you too.
Huh. Wow, they are just absolutely.
Are fun. Running free through mud and dirt beats circle painting. That haiku pretty well sums it up. Looks like Thunderlane was right about the obstacle course getting Rumble to come back over. Hey, Rumble, aren't you gonna do our Wonderbolt course?
I'm cooking today. Maybe I'll do the course tomorrow.
So, you're coming back tomorrow? About getting your cutie mark?
Nah, I already know I'm a good flyer. It kind of runs in the family. Guess it's
Okay, I think we found the next Rainbow Dash. Those eyes. That's. I predict a gif of that soon enough. Okay, that went by pretty fast, actually. Yeah, Kettle Corn. Her name is Kettle Corn, and that has absolutely nothing to do with being a haiku person. I predict she's going to change her name at some point. Okay. Well, certainly is a lot that I can talk about with this. Of course, the trouble is sorting it all through. So I'm going to pause for a second and make a list, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went through and I made a little bit of a list here. So yeah, there's a lot that I could talk about with this, actually. The first thing that I thought of was that back when the episode was first starting up here, and they first introduced Thunder Lane and Rumble and everything that was going on there, I thought that the conflict was going to be that he was being overshadowed by his big brother, and it was kind of like Harry Potter Weasley type situation where Ron wanted to be the best out of all of them and all that, back in book 1, The Mirror of Erised, for anybody who's a Harry Potter fan. There you go. But apparently that isn't entirely the case. It was more along the lines of he wanted to be exactly like his big brother, not better than him, but like he just wanted to be the same. He wanted to be a Wonderbolt like his big brother. And he was upset, or he was afraid of something taking that away from him. Which, I mean, looking back on it, I don't think we've ever seen a Wonderbolt who hasn't got a cutie mark in flying. It would be really interesting if one of them did have a cutie mark in something else, and being a Wonderbolt was more like their hobby. But I don't think we've ever seen that. Like Rainbow Dash and Thunder Lane and Spitfire, Soarin', they all seem to have talents relating back to flying. So, I mean, that makes sense. And even the potential flyers, Sky Stinger, Vapor Trail, Lightning Dust, they've all been, it's all been about the Wonderbolts for them. They've had really nothing else going for them, except, in the case of Sky Stinger and Vapor Trail, their backstories. But it would be very interesting to see a Wonderbolt whose main talent was in something completely different. That's something we haven't really seen yet, and it's more the realm of fan fictions, but it usually takes a darker turn there where they're like, oh, well, not everybody who has a talent at art can grow up to be like the next great artist of Equestria. Like, they're not always going to get recognized. They might end up having to work at a convenience store, and that's a very real world type attitude to have that I don't really think entirely works in Equestria. So I'd kind of like to see it the other way around, where somebody who has like a talent for working with money and they own a convenience store also happens to be this brilliant, amazing artist simply because they've worked at it. And I feel like that would just be more in line with what Equestria has, where it's like, yeah, every pony can play their part, and every pony can have a lot more going on than what's on the surface. So speaking of, well, nothing in particular, actually. I was hoping for a clever transition, and I was winging it, and it didn't really work. Anyways, next topic. Talking about blank flanks and possibility of staying a blank flank forever. One of the biggest, ones that I can think of is Sombra. Sombra, if you look, definitely does not have a cutie mark underneath his cloak. And so yeah, I mean, in the comics, this is gotten around by his backstory being that he was created by literal shadow demons to usurp the Crystal Empire and all that sort of thing. But in the show, that's never really been explored. That's never been brought up, actually. Like, we haven't even really mentioned King Sombra aside from the Season 5 finale since the Season 3 premiere. So, I mean, I wouldn't even count the Season 5 finale for really much of anything. Like, even, like, technically Zecora appeared there, yeah. but I don't count that because it wasn't in the main Equestria universe timeline thing, so it doesn't really count. And even there, though, they didn't really go into Sombra's backstory or anything like that, so still doesn't matter. Now, personally, I kind of had an idea for Sombra's backstory that really resonates with this episode, because the idea was basically that Sombra decided, kind of like Rumble did, that he didn't want a cutie mark. And, no, I'm very serious about this. I came up with this idea because of a contest on FiM Fiction, a Luna Sombra shipping contest, and it's still ongoing. I could still write a story for it. I haven't decided whether I am. I'd like to finish at least one chapter of this other story I'm writing before I even think more about writing a Luna Sombra fiction. But in any case, when I saw that contest, I started thinking of ideas for it, and a part of the ideas that I did come up with was okay, well, what's Sombra's backstory gonna be? Why is he so evil? It's a thing that's always bugged me. I've never been satisfied with that comic book backstory, just because it sort of takes something away from him. It makes him less interesting to know that he didn't really have a choice. I know there's an alternate universe version where Sombra is good and the princesses are evil, but I never really understood what that was all about. So I'm just gonna discount that and say that no, the way they represented him in the comics and his shadowy backstory there, literally shadowy, it takes away his choice. He didn't choose to become evil. He couldn't technically be reformed even, because he's always evil. It's not like Tyrek, where he's choosing to go after power, or like Discord, where he can choose to make friends or anything like that. It limits him. So I was like, okay, well, let's come up with a proper backstory for Sombra. And my idea was that as a filly, he was an orphan, and he was stuck in the orphanage, and he was like, well, I don't want a cutie mark, because, yeah, that would limit me. That would limit what I'm able to do. And it was partially that, but it was also partially how can I put this? He had an idea of what he wanted to do, and that went against what his cutie mark would have been. So in pursuing that goal single-mindedly, he rejected his cutie mark, and he never actually got it. That's what I came up with. That didn't, at least I think that was part of it. That might have been my first idea, and then I settled on the he just doesn't want a cutie mark idea in general. It doesn't matter, but either way, they're both very similar to this particular story here with Rumble, and I really liked that idea, because it made it so that Sombra didn't have a choice, and he took that choice back when he was younger, and it led him down a very dark path, even though his choice wasn't necessarily a bad one. And speaking of that, when I was watching this, and I was watching the choices that Rumble was making, I got a very Starlight vibe from him. Starlight's big thing was that a cutie mark took her away from her friends, and it led her friend down a very specific path that was different from her, that took him away from her, and in turn that caused her to reject cutie marks entirely and go down a even darker path, I think, than most other villains. And yeah, we all know how that turned out. So I mean, that just makes that thing that I said earlier in the episode about the posters resembling equal marks, that just makes it all the more poignant there, I guess. So yeah, it's interesting that like, it kind of makes me wonder, like, could the CMC have helped Starlight out if they were back then? Like just hypothetically, if there were other foals in Starlight's village who were like the Cutie Mark Crusaders, could they have helped her? What sort of impact would they have had on her? What would her life be like if that had been the case? That would be a very interesting fanfiction, I think. So yeah. But at the same time, like, a lot of what Rumble was saying wasn't necessarily it was anti-Cutie Mark, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily bad. Like, Starlight's was anti-Cutie Mark in a very bad way. She was saying, like, give up your special talents, give up doing the things that make you different, and that wasn't necessarily what Rumble was saying. What Rumble was saying was that a Cutie Mark made it so that you couldn't do the things that you like, so you should just do the things that you like and not worry about the Cutie Mark. And in the end, he ended up taking a little bit too far, so as to say, actively avoid the things that you think might get you a Cutie Mark. Even going so far as to say that the things that you like, simply out of the idea of not wanting to be put in the wrong box there. That took it a little bit too far. But no, his ideas weren't necessarily wrong. They reminded me of the very first Cutie Mark Crusaders episode, Call of the Cutie, in which Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle stood up for Apple Bloom by saying that, being a blank flank, her options were wide open to her. She could do anything. And that's something that I've always found a very refreshing idea. It's like, well, if you don't have any specific thing that you are meant to do yet, then you can do anything. The idea of being able to do anything that you set your mind to, like, that's always something I've liked. Especially since I've had it told to me a few times. I've never really lived up to it yet, but I have, in a sense. Like, when I've set my mind to something, I can accomplish it. Like, tonight I set my mind to record this, which isn't something that I would normally do, and I'm not particularly enjoying it because I'm whisper shouting this entire time, and it's very hard, and it feels very awkward, but I'm doing it because I want to get this episode done, because I want to be able to watch other people's reactions, because I want to be able to edit and render and upload this so that way I can move on to other things this week and not have to worry about it. You get where I'm going with that. And in the past, I've had that sort of thing happen where it's like I'm working on a project for months and I'm not getting anywhere, but then all of a sudden, just one day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this done, and all of a sudden I'll just breeze right through the rest of it, relatively speaking. So, like, being able to do anything that you set your mind to, having possibilities wide open like that, I mean, it's all a very broadly good thing. It's just that Rumble kind of took it to the dark side of that, the dark side of what it could be, which is very unfortunate, I think. And of course, his whole thing with that was that he believed that Cutie Marks limit you, which we obviously know is not true, because the CMC have done a lot of things and gotten good at those things, and it has nothing to do with their Cutie Marks. Sorry, I lost track of what I was trying to say there. Anyways, Cutie Marks and limits. There aren't limits on Cutie Marks. Like Rumble thought that getting a Cutie Mark would mean he could only do one thing for the rest of his life, which is just untrue, because we've seen the CMC do other things. That's pretty much the entirety of what On Your Marks was about last season, and obviously adult ponies all the time do things that don't directly relate to their Cutie Marks. So it's kind of like just like, what? So I mean, it's not entirely dumb of him to think, because he is just a kid, so it's possible he could have that warped type of view. It's like, it would be like a little kid thinking that everything their parents do relates back to their job. which sometimes it does, but not always. So just it would have been a lot. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. It's just like, to someone who can obviously look at things from the outside, yeah, it's just not true. Like, okay, let me look at it this way. Like, I have a job, yeah, but my life actually does not really revolve around that job. If anything, it revolves around all the stuff outside of that job. My fan fiction writing and my YouTube videos here. These are the things that I actually enjoy. So my job is just kind of actually sometimes gets in the way of that. I mean, if I didn't have my job, I'd be home all the time and I'd be able to record videos all the time. So yeah. But of course, even if all any pony does is related back to their cutie mark, a cutie mark is not just a one and done type of thing. There are multiple ways to interpret a cutie mark, which can in turn lead to doing different things. Like, that's part of what the CMC do, is they reinterpret a cutie mark. So if a pony isn't happy with what they are doing or what they've got, they go see the CMC and suddenly, oh, I never looked at it that way before. Like, that was kind of the entire thing with Trouble Shoes, was that his cutie mark represented him having bad luck. It made him clumsy, and he thought that that meant he could never be part of the rodeo because he always was wrecking stuff. But looking at it from a different way, you can be part of the rodeo, which is all he ever really wanted, by being a rodeo clown and letting your natural clumsiness make other ponies enjoy your antics by being just funny. Like, it wasn't necessarily the most sensitive way to do it, but it worked. And when I remember reading something in which a pony reinterpreted Celestia's cutie mark as like, oh, well, obviously she has the power to raise and lower the sun, but what if it's something else? Like, what if it's that the sun on her butt represents her ability to spread light and other things like that into other ponies' lives, which obviously she does. She does that all the time by teaching ponies like Twilight, and that's really, really cool. And Twilight herself, speaking of which, like, obviously her cutie mark, her sparkly there, represents her talent in magic, but because friendship is magic, obviously she becomes one of the elements of harmony. She becomes a princess of friendship. Like, you wouldn't think that just by having a talent in magic that Twilight would someday become a princess of friendship, but obviously she has. And in fact, my favorite pony, Pinkie Pie, well, one of my favorite ponies, but my waifu, obviously, but with Pinkie Pie, like, her cutie mark is balloons, which is, like, okay, balloons. So she's really good at blowing up balloons? Maybe. I mean, she obviously is. But it also, broader sense, ties into her partying. Balloons represents a party. Okay, so she's a party pony. What else can she do, though? Like, Pinkie can do a lot. She's the element of laughter. Okay, balloons are fun and are used to be funny. Pinkie Pie can also break, like, okay, the fourth wall breaking itself is kind of like that we will ignore that, but like all the time she breaks physics and she just like bends her body in these impossible ways. It took me a while to realize, but she's bending herself like a balloon animal. So that can be taken from her cutie mark. It's not some special thing that relates back to the fourth wall breaking. It's just part of her natural abilities, which might seem unnatural to other ponies, but like, look at Applejack bucking apples directly into the baskets, even though it makes no physical sense. It's just part of what she does. So, And as for the CMC themselves, like, everything that they've tried since getting their cutie marks has usually been about helping other ponies. So even though they've gotten good at them, it's not necessarily separate from their cutie mark itself. It's just something, a different way of interpreting it. So, that was taken to the extreme with Gabby, where it's like her purpose was to help other griffins or ponies, depending, and therefore literally everything she tried to do, she was helping somebody else. She was perfect at it, and it made her seem kind of like a Mary Sue at first, but it made sense. So you look at that, and it's just like, having a cutie mark is great because it gives a direction, but that doesn't stop you from going and branching out. It's like knowing your destination and knowing that you can take any number of paths to get there, kind of. But at the same time, being aware of all those paths, like having a Google Earth satellite view of all the roads, so it would be less like a map that specifically points you in one direction, and more like just having a general. So it's less like having a GPS telling you what to do than it is having a map that you have to interpret how you get there. But you can see all the paths, which is good. So that's the upside of having a cutie mark, I guess. So yeah, I feel like I've talked enough, mostly. Lots of cool stuff in this one. The song itself was actually pretty cool, and I feel like it's one that I could listen to on its own and not just be part of the episode. There might be a few things in here that I'm missing, but the episode went by surprisingly fast, and it was all very, very much straightforward. Like, it opened on the CMC helping a pony with their key marks, and then they realized, oh, there's too many for us to help one at a time. Okay, let's get everybody in here and just have them all try a bunch of different things that they like to do all at once. And just, cutie mark day camp. Hey, let's all have fun trying to get our cutie marks. And then we were introduced to Rumble and his problem there, and Thunderlane brought him into the camp, and then Rumble sang the song and wrecked the camp, and then the CMCs are like, hey, Thunderlane, your brother's being a little prick here, and he came in and he solved it, and that it was over, pretty much. It was very fast. It went by so fast. Maybe it's because I'm tired, I don't know, but yeah. As for where this one ranks, like looking at it from the outside in, it kind of seems like an idiot plot. It really, really does. But at the same time, it is somewhat understandable, and it is overall just kind of fun. It's a lot more lighthearted than most of the recent episodes have been. Like, I just real quick bring up season 7 once again, and we look back, like, pretty much ever since a royal... Well, no, not really a royal problem, but... Okay, let's go with definitely ever since Discordant Harmony. Everything from Discordant Harmony until episode 19, the plots have actually had some very heavy stuff. Well, no, even episode 20 had it. All these plots have had some very high stakes to them. Discordant Harmony, Discord almost faded away. Perfect Pair, that's the Apple Family episode. That's a huge thing. Fame and Misfortune, Triple Threat, even Campfire Tales, at least in story, they had huge stakes. And getting to see the Legends was a big deal. To change Changeling was huge. Daring Done, the Rarities thing with their main might have been lower stakes, but there was an intensity about it. And obviously, last episode, Zecora almost turned into a tree. So it's like you have all these high stakes episodes, and then you have this one where it's just like there's not really much, like, you never are going to think that all of these foals are just going to remain blank flanks forever, and obviously the one already has her cutie mark, so it's not like she can just reject who she is entirely. Like, we've never really seen that. That would be an interesting angle. Like a pony who has their cutie mark, who accepts their cutie mark as being for what it is, but then rejects that they have to follow that sort of thing, and just does everything in their ability to actively avoid doing what they have their cutie mark for. That would be an interesting concept. I don't recall ever dealing with that before, aside from maybe with Starlight's thing. But I mean, like, we should never have been afraid watching this, like, that Rumble's going to have any long-term effects with his little speech there. Like, someday they'll just stumble upon their cutie marks by accident. There's no real threat in this episode. And the CMC themselves were pretty upbeat. They never really lost hope or anything. They were never struggling, really. They got upset, of course, and it was humorous, very humorous to see them get upset about it. But, like, they just kind of accepted it. They were just like, well, they're having fun. At least they were. And when Rumble was first, like, leaving, they just kind of were like, oh, well, okay, we can't force him. We can go talk to Thunderlane about him, though. So they remained optimistic throughout the entire time, and that just kind of lowered the stakes a little bit. And that's very, not necessarily disappointing. It's just, it makes this episode hard to really rank, because we haven't had such a low stakes episode in so long. And honestly, I think this might be one of the lowest stakes episodes in the entire series. Because, like I said, there's no real fear of lasting consequences from the antagonist's actions. But at the same time, it was a very fast, fun, funny episode with a pretty good song. So, like, it might not be one of my favorites of the season, but objectively it's pretty good, and definitely has some rewatch value, especially because I know that I managed to miss a few lines here and there with my talking, possibly more than usual, even though I'm being a little bit quieter than usual. And I've talked for long enough. I definitely have talked for long enough on this. So, yeah, Marks and Recreation. Good episode. But probably not one of my favorites, but yeah, it's still a good episode, and definitely was well worth watching this. I look forward to seeing everybody else's reactions to it. And yeah, only a few more episodes till the finale. Oh, but yeah, I mean, Steven Universe should be restarting soon, I hope, because I really look forward to what is supposedly going to be going on with Steven Universe when that comes back. If Steven Universe doesn't come back before this season ends, Gravity Falls is always out there for me to react to. Oh, I really have to get reacting to these other things on my list. Oh boy. But in the meantime, yeah, this has been pretty fun, pretty interesting. I will see you all next time. I have to get off of here. I have to stop talking now. Bye.